Hi everyone, welcome to day 1 of the Bad Yogi 7-Day Yoga Challenge. Today is dedicated to the lower back. So if you're walking around and your lower back is tight or your upper back is tight, this class is going to be great for unraveling all of that tension and tightness. So you don't need any special props. Whenever you're ready, we can go ahead and get started. Go ahead and start in child's pose. So flip to the center of your mat, feet together, knees nice and wide. Sit your hips back and walk the upper body down. So for child's pose, the arms can be straight and really reaching long, or you can keep them bent. But either way, just make sure the upper body is long and you're relaxed. So the neck and shoulders are not tight. You're just letting the hips sink down so the lower back can unwind a little bit. And we'll just take a few breaths here. And depending on what feels good, this might not be officially part of child's pose, but if your lower back is tight, it might help. If you kind of shift your right ribs over towards the right thigh, kind of flexing the back, and then kind of rolling, shifting to the left, flexing the left side of the back. So you're kind of squeezing the rib cage towards one thigh, and then going the other way, squeezing the left ribs towards the left thigh. And you can keep going back and forth, or you can stay right in the center. Again, no real right or wrong here. Just want you to do what feels good. See if you can walk the hands out a little bit further, maybe just an inch. And find a little more length in the back. And if you're not already in the center, just come back to the middle. I want you to lean into the hands, tuck the toes under, and sit up and back in a downward facing dog. Again, if your back is really tight, you can keep the knees bent. Just make sure that the spine is nice and long. If you have the flexibility, you can always drop the heels down and straighten the legs. But again, I want you to focus on kind of the center of the body. So the back, the shoulders, make sure that that feels pretty free. Take one more breath in. And wherever you are, bend the knees, come down. You're going to flip the feet behind you and sit down on your left side. So both ankles are tucked in pretty close, and just shift your weight right to the center. Feels kind of weird, I know. But you're going to take the right fingertips out to the right and stretch the left side open. So kind of push the hips, push the ribs towards the left, and reach over to the right side, stretching the whole side of the body. I always feel this one. It's like a part of the body that you don't really pay attention to ever. So when you do, it's like, oh wow, I have a lot of muscles here, I guess. Take 2 more breaths. And come back up. You're going to take the hands down, flip back to a down dog, and again, pay attention to the back. So if you need to bend the knees a little bit, please do. Probably already noticed that the left side is a lot more freed up than the right. You're going to take 2 more breaths. And wherever you are, bend the knees a lot. Shift your weight forward. Flip your feet, this time the other way, and sit down on the right hip. So same pose, but other side. So now the feet are tucked in. You're kind of shifting your weight to the center. Walk the left fingertips out. Reach the right arm up and over, and reach the right fingertips towards the left side. So you're kind of pressing the rib cage over to the right slightly, stretching into the right side. Try not to fold down to the left, but spin the chest around towards the sky. And you're not forcing anything here. You're just kind of letting gravity do its thing. And inhale, slowly come back up. I want you to turn back to where you started. So turn to the front of your mat. Bring the feet together, the knees apart, and sit back in child's pose again. So if you notice that the shoulders are really tight here, you can always wrap the arms and reach for the heels. So again, this isn't a pose that you're going to really hurt yourself doing. So if you feel good, you can adjust however you need to. We're just going to take a couple more breaths. Again, letting the hips sink back. If you need more stretch, walk the hands further away. And we're going to add on. So go ahead and lift the head up. Bring the hands wide so they're spread about shoulder width apart. I'm going to have you do something kind of weird here. I feel like I intro that a lot in my classes, but we're just going to roll with it. You're going to keep the knees about hip width apart, but bring the feet together. I want you to shift your weight forward slightly, almost like you're coming into plank, but you stop yourself so that the shoulders are right over the wrists. Now, this isn't going to feel like much here, so in order to kind of decompress the lower back, I want you to think of dropping the hips down. So drop them pretty far down, but then scoop the hips forward. So you're kind of tucking the tailbone, pulling the belly back. You'll probably feel some work into the abdominals, but the lower back decompresses. So push the floor away, pull the belly in, scoop the hips forward, then come back to neutral. Sit the hips back, child's pose. We're going to do it a few more times, so if you felt like you weren't really getting it the first time, we'll do it a couple more. Come back up. So the hands are a little bit further than the shoulders to begin with. Feet are together, knees are only hip width apart. Drop the hips forward, so it kind of feels unnatural here. We're going to pull the belly in, press the hips forward. Belly curls in, hips are pushing forward, decompressing the low back. Come back to neutral. Sit the hips back. One more time. Shift forward. Feet together, knees about hip width apart. You can let the hips drop down just so that you have an idea of where you're going. Scoop the belly in. Press the thighs forward. Press the hips forward. Push the floor away. Decompressing the lower back. And sit it back. Child's pose. Come back up to the center. Now we're going to come into a plank on the forearms. So I know that doing that kind of work might feel kind of counterintuitive when you have pain in your lower back, but a lot of times it's just because the core is so weak. So now that we warmed up the core a little bit, we're going to come into a full forearm plank. I'll give you an option if it's too much. So bring the elbows down under the shoulders. You can clasp the hands or keep them down flat, whichever is comfortable. So for a modified forearm plank, the knees are going to stay down. Instead of letting the hips sink down, I want you to automatically activate the core and make sure that the hips are no higher than the shoulders and not too much lower than the shoulders either. For a full forearm plank, you're just going to come up, and I'm going to time you. So wherever you end up, go ahead and hold there. Tuck the tailbone slightly towards the heels. Pull the chest forward towards the hands. Breathe. A little shakiness is okay. If you need to drop the knees down, you can. Keep pulling the belly back. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take your knees down. You can bring them in a little bit. Feet together, knees apart. Child's pose. Go ahead and look forward. We're going to come onto our backs. So you can kind of just walk the feet up, roll down, meet me on your back. So once you're on your back, I want you to hug the right knee in towards the chest and just stretch the left leg all the way out. So hug the right thigh in. We're not going to stay here very long. Squeeze it in close. And switch sides. So pull the left thigh in, stretch the right leg as far out as it'll go, squeeze the left thigh down. Now pull both legs in. So you'll notice that if the knees are wide apart, it'll feel different than if they're close together. I keep mine a little bit further apart, so whatever feels best for you is fine. Try to keep the lower back flat and either just hug the knees in, or you can wrap all the way around and take the hands together. But either way, make sure the lower back is down completely. You're lengthening the tailbone towards the end of your mat, tucking the chin slightly, keeping the spine really long. Inhale fully. Exhale, let the feet come down. We're going to add to that just a little bit. So hug the knees in. This time I want you to come up, tuck the chin, and kind of bring the forehead towards the knees. Inhale fully. Exhale, come down. Keep the feet flat on your mat. Let the knees come in towards the center. Let the arms come down at the sides. Palms face up. And we'll take a few moments here. If you have problems with your lower back, whenever you're doing yoga and you come into your meditation, keeping the feet down and the knees together is a much more gentle way for the back to rest instead of keeping the legs out. So keep that in mind while you practice. And take a couple more breaths here. And start to make some movement, rolling the wrists, the ankles, hugging the knees in towards the chest. Eventually, go ahead and roll up, sitting comfortably on the front of your mat. Letting the shoulders relax back and down. And inhale, pick the arms up overhead. Press the hands together. Exhale them right down to the heart center, sealing it all in. And then let the eyes blink open. Namaste. So there you have it. I really hope you enjoyed that one. Make sure you're all signed up for the Bad Yogi Club, and I will see you right back here tomorrow. Hi everyone, I just wanted to drop in and thank you again for doing this class with me. For more yoga classes and other fun stuff like articles and blog posts, make sure you subscribe to the Bad Yogi Club and I will see you there.